we have 4 simple rules. Number 1, we don't discuss politics, ever. Number 2, this is not a religious channel, and while you might hear people say, God bless you, or I'm going to pray for you, or I wouldn't have gotten through this without my faith, that's fine. What's not fine is to say, my God is better than your God, or here's why you're not getting into heaven. It's not going to fly. Number 3, we believe wholeheartedly if you can't control your tongue, then you can't control your life. So while on board, there's not going to be any cursing in the live chat, period. And number 4, there is no room for mean people on the lifeboat. Because we discuss very sensitive things from people's past in our group setting, we got to protect those people. The only way they feel confident and comfortable discussing those things is in an environment that is free of trolls and mean people. So if you're a mean person or you're a troll, we're going to block you for life. And if your account happens to be less than 24 hours old, we're probably a little suspicious right from the word go. Why? Well, because there are people in this world who enjoy being cruel solely for the sake of being cruel. It's not going to fly here. But if you're here because you're trying to get sober and live your best life, then you might find that the lifeboat is just that, a lifeboat. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and we will see you on deck.
Hey everybody, I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and you are on the lifeboat. And that's Squirrel. I want to thank Heather for this morning's video and for allowing me to take a morning off. Also enabled me to go and do some stuff at the Department of Motor Vehicles. You know what, people? The Department of Motor Vehicles will test your willpower. Actually, you know what, though? They were really good to me today. If they happened to catch this, they were very kind today. People, you saw the thumbnail. And it's disturbing. You know, there's no question that it is a disturbing thumbnail. And this is a subject that we talked about before. And there's a reason we're revisiting it. It's not going to take up the entire time we're here. So I'm going to make sure that we talk about some rehabilitation stuff as well. But this is really an important subject matter because things are getting worse. And there we go. Things are getting worse with this zombie apocalypse drug stuff we've got going on in this country. And the last time I spoke to you, I talked about how this has been located in over 26 states and the District of Columbia. It is now in 40 states and the District of Columbia. And the truth of the matter is, the more that I do deep dives on this, the more I realize that it's everywhere. And here's the reason that I say that. If somebody overdoses in this country today, they test for fent. It's the first thing they do. And if the test comes back positive for fent, you overdosed on fent. Plain and simple. They don't bother to check for xylazine. Xylazine was approved in 1952. It was approved for use. Oh, look, she's doing the cool cat thing. It was approved for use on horses and on other large farm animals as a tranquilizer. It was also experimented on for people. One of the reasons that they did not decide to stick with it was because it didn't work very well. There were some very serious issues when they used it on human beings. One of those issues was what happened with respiratory failure. This is a very, very heavy substance in terms of slowing down someone's respiratory tract. Mixing it with another benzo is something that, I'm mixing it with another respiratory depressant, rather, like fent or H or anything else, is a death sentence, guaranteed. Currently, the epicenter of this is in Philadelphia, Kensington in particular. People, I cannot say enough about Kensington. I wrestle with taking an entire show where I just show images of it. It's been done by everybody else, and I'm not much on the PowerPoint. There's an excellent chance I would screw it up. That's number one. Number two, it is so disturbing. ESCAR. ESCAR is a term that's used, and I'm hoping I'm saying that correctly, but ESCAR is a term that's used for a black scab-like problem that develops on skin. And it is what trank dope or xylazine dope is doing to people. The number of amputees now is becoming an epidemic. And the people who are in the know have literally said, Kensington's a write-off. We've lost it. It's gone. There's no coming back. There's nothing that we can do to save Kensington. There are politicians saying this. Do a little deep dive, people. Look this up. The people in the know have said, it's gone. There's nothing we can do about it now. People from all over the country, believe it or not, make road trips to go to Kensington because it is an open air drug flea market. You can buy whatever you want. The police are doing nothing about it, right? Government officials are doing nothing about it. So people go there and try to buy large quantities of this stuff to take to other states, which is the reason that we're seeing the zombie dope end up all over the United States. A lot of people, though, never leave. They buy this stuff, they try it, they get a hotel, and the next thing you know, they've blown everything they got and they're penniless. As I've talked about in the last time we talked about this, one dose of trank dope in Kensington is $2. $2. That's terrifying. They are making this cheap enough where people basically can panhandle, they can return tin cans, they can do just about anything to get a fix. Hello, Lady Crispin. The frightening thing about what this does to the end user is this. Xylazine's got legs, right? It's got legs for days. So when somebody takes the drug trank or whatever else you want to call it, but they take the zombie drug and they inject it or they snort it or they smoke it. What ends up happening is you get the fent fix. It takes away the sickness for the user. But fent is a very, very, especially the street version of fent, it is a very, very short-acting painkiller. It is ridiculously strong, but it doesn't have legs. So in several hours, the effects are beginning to wear off. And by hour 3 or 4, you're already beginning to get sick. Trouble is, you're unconscious because xylazine is so strong. The idea originally, according to people who believe they know, if you do research on this, they say that this was originally cut with the dope to extend the period of time that the effects of the drug would last, because the customers were complaining that they had to continue to fix every 15 minutes. I'm exaggerating. But every 3 or 4 hours, they needed to re-inject an opiate. And that's not something that most junkies are not really happy with that as a concept. We always wanted drugs that were going to last as long as possible so that we didn't have to immediately go back for another fix. So they cut it with xylazine. The problem again is that xylazine can last 8 to 10 hours. So the person goes into basically a coma. The number of rapes that are being reported in Kensington, because when a person does this, as the fent, which gives them a good, decent amount of energy, right? You know, when you see people nodding out, it is the after effect of the drug. When they first get it, there is a blast of energy. These people are ready to walk around. They're ready to do things. And then as that starts to wear off, the xylazine doesn't. And these people are literally laying unconscious, unaware of anything going on around them. The number of rapes, the number of assaults, Kensington's a write-off. And it's spreading. It's spreading across the country. I did a show on a kratom, and I got a lot of hate mail. I told you about it because there are YouTubers that do videos that do nothing but expound, on what a great substance it is and how virtually everybody in the world ought to be doing it. It's almost like an advertisement for kratom, kratom, whatever you want to call it. It falls under a heading, right? That is a term that is starting to gain popularity. It is NPS, right? Which is new psychoactive substances. These are things that are supposed to replace normal drugs. Zombie dope is not one of those, right? Zombie dope is just two substances that never should have been mixed with one another. Sadly, the first time we saw this appear in the United States of America was 2006. Did you hear that? We started to see tranq appear in 2006. Apparently, it started coming over from Puerto Rico, where a lot of people were using this, not mixing it with anything. They were just doing very small amounts of xylazine as a way to get high. It was very easy to procure because all you needed to do was find a veterinarian and say, I got a horse that's really in trouble, and they'd sell you a fat bottle of it. Now you can skirt that and buy it online. 2006, 2016 would be 10 years. As a country, we do nothing to protect drug addicts. Nothing. We've known about this since 2006. It's 2023. You can still buy this stuff. If we knew this was out there in 2006 and that people were buying it to get high on, why did we not regulate this substance? Honestly, it makes you wonder. And I'll tell you what, when you hear me talk about this on Rumble, boy, I'm going to go nuts. I promise you, I'm going to go nuts. But xylazine is being cut into a lot of other things. Just like Fent is, they're starting to put xylazine into a ton of different substances. It's ending up in pill presses. It is now very, very inexpensive to buy a dye for a pill press to make Xanax bars. Do you have any idea what one bottle of xylazine can do when you're pressing them into Xanax bars? Sadly, these people aren't getting Xanax. They are getting a much, much stronger drug. The number of overdoses in this country are not in the ballpark of what we're being told. I said this last year when they were talking about 100 people a day, 180 people a day. Mark and I would come on and say, man, that isn't even close. Folks, when the real numbers come out, we're going to be looking at numbers that are terrifying. Terrifying. Nobody doesn't know somebody who is overdosed. There's nobody in America that has not been touched by this. And what are we doing about it? Nothing. And this is coming to a place near you. Why am I talking about it again? I'm talking about it again because it is finding its way into fake pills. Very legit looking fake pills. So not only do we have to worry that our kids are taking Xanax that could have Fent in it, we now have to worry that our kids are taking Xanax that has xylazine in it. And if they're not cutting it with anything but xylazine, what ends up happening is a drug addiction you can't wrap your brain around. We have talked many times about what happens if you go cold turkey on a benzodiazepine. And while this is like a pseudo benzo, the closest thing that you're going to find it to would be the closest family of drugs that you'd find it to would be a benzodiazepine. It is not technically a benzo, but it has the same response to the body. And what I mean by that is, if your kids start eating xylazine and they're eating it every day for 14 days, do you have any idea what's going to happen on day 15 if they don't take it? We're talking about seizures. We're talking about death. And you can still buy this crap. Once again, fortunately, people, the voice of the lifeboat is growing. It really is. I'm figuring out how to get our message out to larger platforms. I'm figuring out how to get more people to hear what we're talking about. There are a couple of other interviews that I'm going to be announcing. I think I've told everybody that I have I'm doing a radio show on Monday of next week. I will, between now and then, tell everybody where they can go to listen to this. It's a start. It's a start. I'm talking to two other people currently who are in the radio business. People, I don't want a full-time radio show. I don't want anything like that. However, I would really love the opportunity to get on a couple of radio shows to talk to people that already have large audiences about this. It doesn't end there. The zombie drug apocalypse, people love to make videos about this, and everybody sees them because it is a very, it's eye-catching, right? When you see a video of somebody doing one of these things, and going into convulsions, it gets people to watch. It doesn't get anybody to do anything about it, but it sure as hell gets people to watch. It's not the only zombie drug out there. Sadly, in our country today, K2 is making unbelievable inroads again. Why? Because we have stopped doing anything about catching it at the border. So when the previous administration was in office, whether you like T-Man or not, I don't care. But he did wonders for stopping research chemicals from coming into the United States of America through the beast from the East. Because all of these synthetic cannabinoids, which you realize that they're called synthetic cannabinoids because they attach to the THC receptors. The delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol receptors in the brain are the same receptors that these fake chemicals attach to, but they do not attach the same way. Most everybody on the boat has smoked weed. Most everybody on the boat has seen somebody smoke too much weed or get some weeds that's just too strong and they get a little paranoid or they don't have a particularly good time with it. If you've ever seen somebody who takes a little bit too much spice or too much K2 or whatever you want to call it, it is not at all the same response. While I was incarcerated, I watched people scream at the top of their lungs for 15 minutes until they came and got them and duct taped them down and wheeled them out on a gurney to have them show up 5 days later like nothing happened. I also watched it kill people. Somebody reached out to me recently and said, spice doesn't kill people. I've seen it. I've watched K2 kill people. I watched K2 kill 2 people in 1 week. During a lockdown in Victorville, California, 2 people died smoking that crap in 1 week. There is no testing done on this substance, and there are about 9 of them in total. But again, this is making inroads. Are you seeing a pattern? We really are facing a zombie drug apocalypse in our country. The strength of drugs on the street today bear no resemblance to the strength of the drugs on the street from 20 years ago. In anything. I don't care what the drug is, right? If it's benzos, forget about it, right? Because now you're looking at things like xylazine. You're looking at, it doesn't matter whether you're talking about tranquilizers, even weed. And I am not a guy that comes here and says pot ought to be illegal. I do not think it should be. I think that there are a ton of people who use it responsibly, but every single year it's getting stronger. So is every other substance on the planet. We are creating an entire zombie race of drug addicts in this country. And the radio show wants to talk to me about harm reduction. California spent an absolute fortune since 2016 on harm reduction. It's not working at all. It's simply not working. Now I'm all about harm reduction. Things like making sure there's Narcan everywhere, making sure people don't have to pay for Narcan, making sure that fent test strips are available everywhere. That kind of harm reduction is great. It makes sense to try to keep people alive until they can get help. Trouble is, harm reduction doesn't do a lot of good if the drugs aren't responding to the kind of stuff you're handing out. Fent alone requires so much Narcan to bring somebody back from a fent overdose. It's remarkable. Throw in a little xylazine and it isn't going to get the job done, period. Because simply put, it's not an opiate. It's not an opioid. So the antidote doesn't work. So harm reduction is a model that's not working anymore. We are getting to a point now where the entire United States is going to be Kensington. I mean, it may not be tomorrow. It may not be next year, but it's coming. It's absolutely coming. The strength of the drugs that are out there now, the strength of the drugs that people are experimenting with for the first time, stand a damn good chance of killing you. I spoke to somebody today, who said a very close friend of mine overdosed a week ago. I said, "Oh, I'm heartbroken to hear that. I hear it every single day. I'm so sorry." I said, "He was an opiate addict?" No, nope. He bought blow. Did a line and didn't get out of his kitchen. Was found the following day by his wife. Just wanted to recreationally do a little cocaine. You got to ask yourself why they're cutting everything with Fent. In the beginning, I said, they're probably doing this because it's really an addictive substance. And it also is an unbelievable substance for euphoria. So if you can make blow a little bit more euphoric, people are going to buy it. If you can make meth a little bit more euphoric, people are going to want to buy it. It's also really addicting, and you're going to get customers who keep coming back. But that's not what's happening. It's killing the customers. Plain and simple, it's killing the customers. I've been doing deep dives on meth. There is a whole new concept right now on withdrawal from methamphetamines. I have admitted that I've done a bunch of meth in my life. I never, however, had it as a drug of choice. I did it so that I could do more opiates, so I could stay up a little bit later and party longer into the night, basically. But people are going through serious withdrawal issues trying to come off of meth. Do a deep dive on this. It's fascinating. It's frightening, but it's fascinating. Once again, they are messing with every single substance out there. If this is not a design to unravel the fabric of our country, I don't know what is. And once again, our country is burying their heads in the sand on things like these new psychoactive substances, right? To allow anybody to make things like bath salts, right? Common sense would say, maybe we ought to pass a law so that these things aren't readily available to anybody out there. Maybe we ought to make it against the law to allow these novel substances to be brought into our country. Do you realize how many other countries have made all synthetic cannabinoids illegal? Why haven't we? Why isn't there a ban across the entire anything? If you're going to come up with a new psychoactive substance, it's going to be illegal from Jump Street. You make something that can get someone high and you release it out into the public and we find it, you're going to go to prison. We have to literally wait to see what the substance is to say, okay, now we're going to do a chemical test on this, right? Do a little a tear down to find out what the chemical makeup is, and then we will make that chemical makeup illegal. The people who are making these new psychoactive substances already have the next one in the bag. They're waiting for the people to get together in Congress and say, all right, we need to make this one illegal. 15 minutes later, the replacement will already be being sold. I went into a vape shop the other day, right? Because this big in the window, it says Kratom. And there was a wall, I'm not exaggerating, 70 feet long, right? That had different types. Apparently it comes in a red, a white, right? There's all of these different things. And I said to the person, you selling a lot of that? He said, oh, you wouldn't believe it. Can't keep it on the shelves. Well, it's on the shelves. I mean, there was literally like a metric ton of it in there. And he goes, why, you want to try it? I said, no, I'm good on trying it. I just wanted to sort of come in and take a look at it. I've told you that in town we have Kratom King, like Burger King. In this town, Kratom King. We are allowing our country to slip into zombieism. And I can't believe I'm saying this. I keep repeating myself again and again. I was talking to Johnny earlier today. I can't believe I'm saying this. But our only hope is decriminalization. There's no other hope. And people, let's just think about this logically for a second. If you eliminated the largest expenditure in America other than our military budget, if you eliminated all of that, do you realize how you could regulate all of these substances? Seriously. As far as who's making it, who's selling it, hell, we would have the number of people who would instantly be unemployed could take jobs regulating this stuff. The number of people that we would no longer need to pay to fight a war that we lost 4 decades ago. The reality is this: people are going to want to catch a buzz for the rest of eternity. That's just the way it is. People are never going to stop wanting to get high. There's a reason that, and I don't love the term, I've said it before, but there's a reason they call it recreational drug use. It's exactly what it is, unless you're a drug addict. But there are a great number of people on this planet who smoke a little pot. The number of people who are going to have 3 glasses of wine today and then put the bottle away in the refrigerator is unbelievable. Nikki Sixx, you guys probably know who that is, right? From Motley Crue. Nikki Sixx was recently doing a spot on a podcast. And he said if there is one drug on the planet that ought to be illegal, he thinks it's alcohol. I mention that because if you were to say to me, if there's one drug on the planet that ought to be illegal, what should it be? I would say opioids. If you asked M. Hunt, he'd say alcohol, right? If you asked the next person, they'd say cocaine. All of us have an Achilles heel of some kind. But the vast majority of the planet doesn't. You realize that drug addicts don't make up the majority. We make up the minority. The approach that we're taking is killing people. And those that it does not kill, it ruins their lives, destroys them. Again, it's sad to come on and do these shows. It's sad. I have told stories on here before about a girl that I was friends with years ago. I saw her yesterday. She very, very well may be listening to me right now. But I saw her yesterday. And the shock, I think, in both of our faces that we were alive. Because of the two of us, no one that I knew in our circle is alive. Myself and her and Jack. Everybody else is dead. Everybody. It's not getting better. It's getting worse. It's not getting better. It's getting worse. There's a show out there called the Young Turks. They lean left, right? They lean left. But I was listening to them talk about drugs in America and their stance on the reason that the drug problem is there. They also do not believe that either party is doing a particularly good job. But the joy they take in saying that the Republicans are doing this part of it, and this is their fault, and this, and the Democrats, well, they should be doing a little more of this. I'll tell you something, people. We got to stop hating one another. We got to start loving one another. Everybody. We got to start loving everybody. The people in Kensington with eschar so badly on their arms that they literally look like the picture in my thumbnail. People covered with black sores all over their body need to be loved. We can't say we're writing off a city. We can't have police departments that say, what's the point? I mean, if I arrest that dope dealer, there's just going to be another one there in a second. Okay. All right. Well, then if that's the truth, let's get rid of dope dealers. What do you say? Let's get rid of drug dealers. Let's make it so that selling dope no longer makes any money. How do you do that? Well, you legalize it. I don't know anybody in the state of Nevada that slings weed. I promise you that. Right? Not a lot of people making money selling pot in this state. Because on every fifth street corner is a dispensary selling a very safe, very tested product. I cannot believe I'm saying this, but all of it's got to be legal, or we're going to be a zombie apocalypse country. It's coming. If you think it's going to stay in Kensington, did crack stay in LA? Seriously. You think somehow that trank dope and all of the zombie drugs that are coming in from the beast from the east, coming through our southern border, and make no mistake, people, may as well just say it, right? The country to our south, it's not a country anymore. It's not. It's like 5 really good cartels that are running the entire country. It is a narco state. And you know why it's a narco state? Because we want that much dope. The demand is the reason for the supply. The demand's not going away. You can't legislate it away. You can't make it a moral issue. You can't make the demand go away. Tell you what, went away from me. I'm not getting high. Pretty damn happy about it. Pretty damn happy about it. But we're either going to allow that narco state south of our border to grow into what, 5 times bigger than it is now? How long before they have an army? I'm dead serious. The amount of money that they're making off of us, money that we send out of the country that never comes back. Well, it's not entirely true. They send their kids here to go to med school. Seriously. Cartels? Yeah. They send their kids here to go to school, to become doctors and lawyers. We're into our 3rd and 4th generation now. The cartels have been going for a long time. It was grass. We didn't do anything about it then, right? If we had legalized back then, there wouldn't be cartels. There wouldn't be. But as crazy as it sounds, people, it all needs to be legal. All of it. Coke, heroin, meth, all of it. It may sound insane. It sounds pretty damn insane rolling off my lips. I'm not going to lie to you. Sounds pretty odd saying it. I assure you, when I started the lifeboat, I did not think I would ever be saying out loud that I think we need to legalize every single substance on the planet. But I think we do. I really think we do. We do. It's the only way we can protect the people. The demand isn't going to go away. Do you know that one of the substances that they're selling as K2 is used in the manufacturing of plastics? Right? For real. It is literally used to make plastic. They're selling it in a liquid form, right? You could take it, put it in, mix it with one other thing, and extrude it out so that you could make one of these babies that you could plug into the wall for your phone. And we're letting people spray that on potpourri or pieces of paper and smoke it. And we're wondering why people are walking around like friggin' zombies. How do you protect people from that kind of crap? You put drug dealers out of business. You put cartels out of business. Are we going to see an uptick? Yeah, there'll probably be an uptick in experimentation. I believe that will happen in the beginning. I really do. I do. But the other countries that did this watched a decrease. It might take a decade, but they watched a decrease in drug use. They watched a decrease in overdoses. And you know one of the biggest decreases you see? Crime. Jackasses like me who rob banks to get heroin would never have to rob a bank. You know why heroin is expensive? Because it's illegal. Do you know why cocaine is expensive? Because it's illegal. black markets raise the price of things to the point that people will kill for them. They'll kill to make money on it. They'll kill to come up with the money to do it. It hasn't worked. It has not worked. You realize that if you go back prior to the 1930s, that you could buy everything I'm talking about right now in the Sears catalog. Why is it we never hear of how awful it was back then? Why don't we hear what an amazing cocaine problem we had when you could buy Coke in the Sears catalog? Maybe they just didn't have an internet to talk about it back then. Could be. Maybe you think? Or do you think that there just was no black market? Did we forget how well that worked with alcohol? Huh? What bootlegging did? How many people got rich selling that stuff? We tapped out. We realized it didn't make any sense. People were going to continue to do it. And what happened? They made gin in bathtubs. They used ethyl, right? They used alcohol that no one should ever put in their body, and people went blind and people died. Do a deep dive on the things that people were drinking. Bathtub gin, right? That taking stuff like isopropyl rubbing alcohol, literally, adding juniper berries so that it smelled and tasted like gin, and throw it in a bottle and sell it. Or people taking boats to go buy the stuff in Canada and smuggle it into the United States. Brought us the Tommy gun, right? Because they were willing to kill for it. See, all of a sudden, a fifth wasn't $1.50 anymore. Now it was worth killing for. We're going to hell in a handbasket. Going to hell in a handbasket. How long before the United States of America is the United States of Kensington? Huh? How long? And don't get me started on the fact that this entire thing is just a plan to destroy us. Let's stop them like that. That fast. That fast. And don't make no mistake. It's going to take some work. Right? Decriminalization is going to take some work. It probably will have to be done in phases. But I'm tired of watching people die. And the saddest part? People are making billions of dollars killing 400 of us a day. They're making billions of dollars. They don't know what the hell to do with the cash. Literally. Train cars full of $100 bills. Money that people in our country broke their back for so that we can give it to people who are trying to kill us. Amazing. Amazing. We can't afford to keep doing what we're doing. And that's all I got to say about that. Please talk to everybody you know and tell them that if you don't get it from a pharmacy, you can't take it. It's that simple. If you don't get it from a pharmacy and it doesn't come in a pill bottle with your friggin' name on it, you can't take it. You can't trust your best friend, right? Honestly, you can't. The number of horror stories of people who weren't drug addicts, right? They didn't even do drugs. Twins. You guys saw that. Those parents are actually doing something about it. Twins. Decided to try perk 30s. Killed both of them in one night. Can you imagine losing your twin boys in one night? So that we can not let those narco state scumbags south of the border get rich. They got to be laughing all the way to the bank. They got to be laughing all the way to the bank. And they're puppets for the beast from the east. Boy, wait till you hear me do this show on Rumble. And you know what? The big red button's going to love this. But have you ever been to Rumble? Go look at the titles of the videos over there. And you're going to go, holy hell, free speech. I didn't know that still happened. Yeah. So I'm hoping that everybody is doing well. I really am. I'm hoping everybody's doing well. Heather did an amazing video today talking about relapse. I want to touch on a couple of things real quick. The success rate of what we do is not great. And we're doing pretty well on the boat. We really are. We're doing pretty well. However, statistically speaking, more people fail than succeed. About 4-1, right? It's about an 80% failure rate. So when you pick your 5, don't assume that they're going to be apostles, right? Don't assume every one of them is going to be successful. And maybe a little circumspect. If you can find somebody for your 5 that's got 2 or 3 years of sobriety, that's a great thing. If you can find someone that's got 5 to 10 years of sobriety, that's even better. Because their odds are less likely that they're going to slide into active addiction. If they do, don't hate them. Don't make it give up on sobriety or give up on the boat or give up on the concept of having 5 people that you need to call. Replace them, right? With one of these. Hey, Tommy, sorry you relapsed. That sucks. It really does. If there's anything that I can do to help you, I'd love to. I'm going to go find another person to replace you because I can't be calling anybody in an active addiction, right, to help me if I'm starting to backslide, if I feel like I'm in relapse. Not using, but if I'm in relapse, I need to be able to call somebody that I can count on. Are you going to get it right and hit it out of the park the first time? You're not. I mean, you might get lucky as hell. But I've had people send me emails that said, I called so-and-so and they relapsed, man. I'm done with this. Great. If you're looking for a reason to bail, that's a good one, right? It's always easy to find a reason to bail. That's as good as any other. The success rate is not great. ZW, thank you. Please show support and appreciation and thumbs up. Thank you, ZW. I really appreciate that. And you know what, people? This is someone that supports the boat every single day. It is an easy thing to hit the thumbs up button. It really is. Do that. If this message doesn't get out, if you think I am a blithering idiot for wanting to decriminalize drugs, I would love you to come on and talk about it. We can debate it as friends. Please, come on and talk to me about it. I'm not mad at you. I'm telling you what, 6 months ago, I would have been having that debate. And I would have been the person saying, you can't decriminalize. If you disagree with me, please do so. We can be friends. But make me understand how this is working. Make me understand if there's a way to make it work. If there's a way for this war on drugs to actually work, let me know about it. Seriously. Decriminalizing drugs isn't my first choice. I promise you, that wasn't my first choice. My first choice was educating every single kid we could so that within 3 or 4 generations, we could eliminate the demand. I believed that was a possibility. I don't believe that anymore. I don't. Sadly. Doesn't mean we don't do that. It doesn't mean we don't still try to educate every single kid we can. Can you hear that? Cannot feel good. It still doesn't mean that you don't educate every single kid you can. I got an email right before I went live today that was heartbreaking. It said, Tommy, I know you're busy, and you know what? I don't have a problem. I'm just a mom on the boat. But say a prayer for my grandson because he didn't ask for any of this. He's 3. Boy, you got a chance. He's 3, you got a chance. But what a heartbreaking email. Nobody asked for this. Nobody asked for this. I assure you there's not a 15-year-old kid anywhere in the United States today who thinks, I want to be a drug addict. I want to be a drug addict. I want those big black sores on my arm and maybe, I don't know, lose my arm from the elbow down. Sounds like a good time. Just normal behavior, whether you realize it or not. Normal behavior. You realize animals do it. True story. Animals seek out buzzes. You know, you ever seen squirrels eat, not this kind, squirrels eat fermented fruit? They do it every single year. And then they fight and they stumble around. It's actually funny as hell. But I've said this before. Go to a daycare center. I used to tell my brother Johnny this all the time because my family owned daycares growing up, big ones. And I used to say to him, I can go outside and I can point out to you the kids that are going to end up being users. Because everybody's running and playing and they're spinning in circles as fast as they can. And then they fall down and they get up and try to walk, giggling hysterically. And they'll do that for 30 minutes straight. That's a 5-year-old trying to catch a buzz. There is something ingrained in us. There is a desire to alter our consciousness. And that's not going to stop. And neither is this narco state south of here. They're just coming up with bigger and badder drugs, you know, laughing all the way to the bank. So people, yeah, I'm sorry. I digress because this is a really tough one for me. It really is. I'm struggling with this, people. I'm struggling with this. 700 videos in, and I gotta say, we can't win. And I've said before, you know, back before I even, you know, started to believe that decriminalization was necessary, I was saying that it doesn't matter if you can't win the war on drugs as long as you can win the battle. If Spanx Calhoun stays sober, if Cedar stays sober, I can live with the rest of it. I'm not happy about it. But my kids, that's my battle. That's my war, right? More than anything else, that's my war. I love everybody on the boat. I want to stay sober. But I'll cut off my left arm to ensure that my kids don't end up like me. For real. Sadly, if every single person on the planet had that attitude, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. If, picture, just visualize it in your head. Visualize a world where a 16-year-old says to his parents, you know what, I'm thinking of trying, you know, Coke. And you could say, well, you know what, I don't recommend that. And you can't legally do it until you're 18, you know, but when you do know that 2 grams of it will kill you, right? You also know that it's a very addicting substance. And by the way, this manufacturer is probably the safest of them. What? Or they sell it in different strengths. Don't buy the pure stuff. You know, when you first start out, if you're going to experiment with this, get the stuff that's 65% blow. Don't get the strongest stuff. Imagine that world. Seriously, can you imagine that world? I'm thinking of trying heroin. Get diacetylmorphine. Don't you dare think of doing it with a needle. And just be aware of the fact that this addicts almost everyone that touches it. You know how many generations it'll take of kids watching their uncles and other people act like idiots before they realize, I'm not trying that. I'm not trying that. You know how many kids out there right now will not try substances because, sorry. Apparently my kids are in chat. Pretty fond of those kids. Yeah. It could be a better world, people. It could be a better world. Sad as hell that that's what it's going to take. But we don't have another option. We don't. And this is the world that we're given to our kids. There are a ton of kids on this planet that will not do drugs because they saw what it did to their parents. I'd like to believe I have a couple who would never try heroin because of what it did to their parents. If this stuff wasn't in the closet within 3 generations, you go into inner cities, you go into places like Harlem, seriously, you go into places like where drugs have been out in the open for a really long period of time, and you got people go, I'm not doing that. I watched what happened to Uncle Charlie. I watched what happened to this person, because it isn't that closeted. We're not even going to discuss this, right? Think about the world we live in today. If you've got an uncle that's a drug addict, we don't talk about that. No, don't talk about it. Good Lord, talk about it. Talk about it. Why don't we talk about it? We don't talk about it because drug addicts are meant to feel like they're weak. They have moral issues. They're sociopaths. They're pick your favorite label. We certainly don't treat it as a disease. And I did not want to go on a 60-minute rant about decriminalization. I really didn't. Maybe I should. Maybe I should do a lot of them. Honestly, maybe I should do a lot of them. It's a tough one, people. It really is. It's a tough one. Reach out. Please, if you are not a member of the Facebook group page, get your carcass over there and become one. You can listen to me talk for an hour here, and you can talk to people in the chat while I do, right? Very often, that's where most of the help takes place, right here in the chat. People help one another. That's how that people find their fives, whatever. But places like the Facebook group page is where you can really go and reach out and get to know people, find individuals that you can call when you're hurting. I would love to be every one of your five. I would love for 4,000 people to be able to call me when they need help. I got news for you. That doesn't work. And I was ignorant enough to try it for a period of time. I can't do it, right? It's not possible. I can't do it. And the day is coming, I promise you, where I'm not going to be able to do these twice a day. I don't mean that they're not going to go take place twice a day, but I'm not going to be able to be doing them twice a day. There are going to be other people that are going to be stepping up to the plate, and they're going to be doing shows here. It has to happen that way. It has to. And please, if you're listening to me and you think decriminalization is an awful idea, reach out to me. I will have you on the show. We'll do a little split screen. I'm not the kind of guy that yells at people. I'm not going to raise my voice. I'm not going to call you an idiot, right? That kind of debate does nothing, right? When you start calling someone stupid, it's no longer a debate. It's an argument. But I would love to debate why we need to continue down the road we're going down, because it doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. And I find myself wondering, where would I be today if my substance of choice had been legal in 1986? Where would I be today? I wouldn't be waiting to have my probation terminated. I promise you that. I wouldn't have a criminal record. I really don't believe I would. Because it's pretty amazing how once drugs were out of my life, I stopped committing crimes. I became very reliable. I started doing what I said I was going to do. I started looking out for people. The problem wasn't the drugs. The problem was what I had to do to get them. For real. The problem was the dirtbags south of the border, right? Cartels getting rich off of everything that I did. I destroyed a couple of families. I'm blessed as hell that my children still love me. I really am. There are a lot of parents out there that did so much damage or had kids that were not as understanding. But drugs have destroyed families to where they can't be repaired. There are so many bridges that have been so burnt. Do you know why I get so happy when one of you reaches out and says, Tommy Bird sent me a picture once with he and his kids. And I'm telling you, people, that is a drug. I'm not kidding you. What that does in my head, the release of chemicals I get from that, pictures of M. Hunt with his girl, forget it. Forget it. That's my drug of choice. When people are able to put their lives back together and it's better than it was before, the lifeboat is unique because everybody here treats everybody here like they're as good as everyone else. You're not defective. Well, you might be defective. I sure as hell am defective, but not because of my disease. I got all kinds of other issues. We all do. but I'm not defective because of my disease. I'm not weak. Believe that. Willpower, it's not an issue for me. Willpower's got nothing to do with drug addiction. Neither does moral freaking fiber. For real. Yeah. I know people on this boat that are the kindest. Yeah. Honestly, spent a lot of time on the internet, people. Spent a lot of time on the internet. Since leaving the the care of the federal government, I've been on the net nonstop. You know, I started to work instantly with my brother Johnny on his channel, and Johnny's got a very large, following, and nice people. Seriously, the people on the bus, some of the nicest people you'd ever want to meet, but the ones that really jumped out at me had one thing in common. They were all recovering addicts. We don't judge people. And we remember what it feels like when people do judge you. Ever wonder why recovering addicts don't judge people? Because we got a PhD in being judged. Right? Got more, spent more time being judged by more people. I was joking with someone today about the DMV because they just said, oh man, you stand in line, you can do this, that. Yeah. Imagine a DMV where everybody yells convict at you. Get in that line, get in this line. That's what prison is. Honestly, that's what prison is. It's like the DMV for 7 years. People telling you where to go, what to do. Sit down here, fill out this piece of paper, bend over and cough. Sorry. Of the arrests, 88% of them were just using the stuff. 12% were manufacturing or selling. As far as I'm concerned, those people should be shot. The 88% shouldn't even be arrested. If you disagree with me on that, reach out. I'd love to debate you. I'd love to have you on here. I'll treat you with more respect than you can imagine. But I would like you to make me understand why this drug war is worth fighting anymore. Help me understand. Show me how we're going to protect America, Australia, Canada, any place, how we're going to protect it from becoming Kensington if we continue to fight this stupid, unwinnable war. And out of curiosity, why is it that just about every place on the planet says, it's all right to get drunk, right? That one's cool. We'll sell it at 7-Eleven. But don't sniff anything. And don't smoke stuff. Although we've come around on that, I guess. Make me understand that. Reach out to me. sober@myyahoo.com. Boy, would I love someone to explain to me why this war is worth fighting. Seriously, make me understand. Talk me into it. I talk a lot. Talk me into it. I'll join your side. I'll raise hell. But it can't happen. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville. I'm going to be back. And between now and then, reach out and try to save somebody, please. It's the right thing to do. And please feel free to reach out. Tell me why I'm wrong. And believe it or not, people, I wish I was wrong. You may not believe that, but I wish I was wrong. But I'm not. Oh, what am I doing? See this thing? Hey. It's like she refuses to look at the camera. She knows she's on. Is that amazing? There you go. That's a cat in a basket. Good night, everybody. We love you. No, a little one of these. Chicka-pow. I said chicka-pow.